Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elise, aka The Pretty Nerd, and today we're going to talk about Free Cyntoia by Cyntoia Brown-Long. Okay y'all, let's get right into it. I got this book from my local library and it is roughly 301 pages. And it did not disappoint. I know y'all so used to me saying that, but it really didn't. Like, from cover to cover, I enjoyed every single moment of this book. So it was a lot. Let me just say that. It was a lot. It was a lot to unpack. It was a lot to understand. It was a lot to get into, if you will. The book gave what it was supposed to give. I will say that. It gave what it was supposed to give. Okay, so the book starts off at the beginning of her life, like most autobiographies do. And it kind of just explains her childhood, how she had grew up in a two-parent home. She was very loved by her parents. She had two older siblings. They all treated her like a spoiled princess. She pretty much got whatever she wanted, when she wanted, you know, the whole baby of the family vibes. And it wasn't until she went to elementary school that she started to realize that she was different from her parents and from her peers. In the book, she said when she first got to school, she realized that all of the other students either looked like their mother or their father, like they had their mother's eyes or their nose or their lips or their smile or their hair or whatever, you know, features of some sort that said, I belong to this person. And when she looked at her mother and her father, she didn't have those. And it wasn't until then that she started to realize that, why don't I look like them? And as the school year progressed, and within the first, I want to say a couple of weeks, I could be wrong. But as the school year progressed, her peers started to ask her, well, why do you look like this? Are you white? Are you black? Why don't you look like your mom? Why don't you look like your dad? And so it made her ask her mother, well, why don't I look like you? And all my classmates look like their parents in some way, shape, or form. And I don't look nothing like you or dad. So what's up? And that was when she learned that she was adopted. She learned that she was adopted at 6 months old by her adopted mother and father, who she knows is her mother and father, and that her biological mother was a friend of her older brother, an old friend. They weren't currently friends. And that the reason why she had been adopted at 6 months old was because her mother, biological mother, was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And although she wanted to keep her, she wasn't in a position to do so. And that was mind-blowing for Cyntoia. Because she's like, who is this woman I belong to? Do I look like her? I don't know her. What does that mean for me? She also found out that she was biracial. Her mother is white, her father is black. And she's like, so I don't look like any one person in particular. I'm a mix of two people. What does this mean for me? I'm not biologically these people's child who has raised me my whole life. Who am I? And so that started the loss of her identity, which in turn started the downward spiral of her life. So it was shortly after this that Cyntoia started getting in trouble. I remember reading in the book that soon after finding out that she was adopted and the whole situation surrounding her adoption had happened, that she remembered vividly playing war with this little girl in their neighborhood, and she threw a rock and busted the little girl in the face, and busted her face open, and she was leaking all over the place. And at that moment they started to deem her like the bad girl. She didn't really fit in with the black people because she was too white for the black folks and maybe too black for the white folks, and it wasn't like a whole bunch of them in their little community or town where she was. It was like predominantly black, is the gist of what I got from reading the book. So it created in her a feeling of I don't belong anywhere, and she was already struggling with her identity. So she started to feel alone and alienated, and so she started to gravitate towards the other troublemakers in school. So she ended up spending a lot of time being suspended for fights because children were making reference to her and calling her white and things like that. So she got suspended, a lot of times while she was in school, which inevitably ended up in her going to a juvenile detention center at some point. She had a few stints in like psychiatric hospitals and things of that nature. Like, after the whole learning that she wasn't biologically her mother and her father's, her identity just kind of evaded her, and she just found herself in trouble constantly. Like, trouble found her and followed her wherever she went. So much so that she spent a lot of her time in and out of juvenile detention centers. She started to align herself with people that were no good for her. And she started smoking weed, skipping class. They taught her how to run away. She would run away from juvenile detention centers. She would run away from the psychiatric hospitals. She would run away and be with those friends. Not to mention that she had her first sexual encounter at the age of 12 after watching pornos that her parents or whoever had in her house when she was alone, because nobody ever taught her about sex. So she had her first sexual encounter at 12 with a man who just told her she was pretty, because in her mind she just wanted to belong to somebody. She wanted to feel like she fit in, like she was loved, like she was wanted, like she was necessary. So as she continued to pop in and out of home and in and out of detention centers and in and out of the homes of her friends who were far older than her, she started to learn that relationships were transactional, meaning that she could use herself or her body to get things for men to survive, because that was what her older friends were doing. They showed her how to do that. Maybe not be with them sexually, and sometimes it did require that, but talk a good game, talk a man out of his money, make him think you're gonna give him something for what he about to pay you for, and things like that. So she spent a lot of time having transactional relationships with other people, and she would go home for small stints of time and run away again, because she felt like she belonged with those people that were outcasted like her, who were living in a sense like they didn't know who they were. So she felt like those were her people. She had found her people. She had found her purpose. That was how she was destined to live. She wasn't for a lack of words, worth anything more than that. So she did that for quite a while, and then at 16, she met Cut, aka Cutthroat. And immediately she felt an attraction to Cut, and he to her, and she felt that she had found her person. And we know that she just wanted to belong, because she felt like she had no identity, like she belonged to nobody, like nobody really wanted her or cared for her, that she stuck to him like glue. He was her person, and she was gonna stick beside him. I think it's important to mention that Cut is like 23, 24, 25 to her 16 years old, and they pursue a sexual relationship. He is having sex with her. He introduces her to cocaine. So now, not only is she addicted to weed, but now she's addicted to cocaine, and now she's addicted to Cut. Okay. Yeah. Weed, cocaine, Cut. She got a lot going on. And she wants to do whatever it is that is going to make Cut happy. Whatever it is. So much so that they were out one night, and then he booked a room for a hotel, and she came in from going to the gas station to get some snacks and seen that this white guy was staring at her really hard and made her uncomfortable. So she goes back to the room, and she was like, this guy, pretty much she telling him, like, this guy been staring at me. He, like, I don't know what he want. Like, the vibe is just off. And Cut, like, no, you know what he want. You know what he want. Go on and do that and make us a quick couple of dollars so we can stay at the hotel for a little bit longer. Go on and do that. And because Cyntoia was already so primed to having these transactional experiences, she thought, well, let me just do this and it'll make Cut happy. So she did it the first time. And when she brought the money back to him, he loved her. He told her he loved her, that he was going to get, they weren't going to do this for long. She wasn't going to be here for long. He was going to get her up out of here. They was going to go make it, I think it was Vegas it was, and he was going to be some big time dope boy, and she was never going to have to do this again. Now, let me say that he was also mentally and physically abusing her. Yeah. So, but she stayed because she felt like she had found her person. And he would use, he made her write down like things to teach her how to be a good whore and things like that. Now, mind you, it's only been a couple of days. And she is going out here and prostituting herself to bring money back to him, to make him happy, to make him love her, to make her feel wanted, to make him be nice to her and treat her like he did in the beginning of their relationship, which has only been a couple of weeks. So like, red flag, red flag, red flag. But she's 16 and she's only had these transactional experiences, so she doesn't really know what it means to be loved by somebody. So she thinks that this is love, and he giving out all the red flags that she should run, but she don't. And one day she goes out, and after he's done called her all kind of names and put his hands on her and told her that like she ain't made her worth, she ain't did her upkeep. The only reason why they surviving is because of her. I mean, because of him, and it's because of her, because she the one out there selling her body. He ain't doing nothing. He done sold her to friends, all kind of things. So she go out there one day, and I think at this point she's had enough because she sees this white guy. She's crying. He tells her to get in the car, talk to her, whatever. And he's like, are you okay? And she's like, no. And she's very honest about what she's going through. She's trying to get back home. She don't want to be here no more. She being abused, da-da-da-da-da. And dude was like, well, are you down to have some fun? Like, forget all that stuff you talking about. Is you trying to give it up or no? And so she like, forget it. I guess I can just do this and make this money, and maybe I can use it to get back home, or maybe I can make enough and it'll make Cut love me, or she's teetering between the two, going home, staying with Cut. What should she do? So she's like, I'm gonna make this money and then I can make a decision after. So she does that. And he buys her some food, and she like, well, you want to get a room? He like, no, let's go get a we're going to go back to my house. And she like, okay, cool. He 43, she's 16. She get back to his house, and something ensues between the two of them, and she feels like she needs to fight for her life, and she ends up murdering this 43-year-old man. And what she claims is self-defense. She murders him. Nobody was there, so we don't know. I'm not here to pass judgment, so all I'm saying is that she claimed it was self-defense. That's what she said in the book. So she leaves from there after she murders him, goes back to Cut in the car that the white man had picked her up in. Cut like, you trying to get me caught up, da-da-da-da-da, like, get rid of the car. So she gets rid of the truck, all because, he done told her what to do. She's just scared and looking for a piece of comfort. So she go back to Cut because that's her comfort. And long story short, she get arrested that night. And over time, she spent some time in jail. And she gets sentenced to life in prison. She spends a lot of her years mad at everybody, at the law, at God, at everybody, because she feel like, how did this happen to me? This shouldn't have happened. I was just being a good girlfriend, doing what I was supposed to do, but it was self-defense. I shouldn't be in jail for defending myself because this man was trying to kill me, and if I didn't kill him, he would have killed me. At some point in her incarceration, she decides that she can have a meaningful life, even if that means that she's behind bars. So she starts what is called the Glitter Project. She starts mentoring other girls, younger girls who are in her position, who have been bound over. If you don't know what that means you've been bound over from the juvenile court to the adult court. So whatever sentence you receive, you're going to spend in the adult prison system. So she mentors these girls and tries to get them to see the error of their ways, how to, if they don't get bound over, how they can change their lives and live meaningful lives. If they do, they can still live a meaningful life behind bars. And she meets, she gets a degree. She meets and marries her husband, Jamie Long. And at the end of the book, they talk about how she went through all these appeals and she lost them all. And then in 2019, she was granted clemency to come home. And while this book is largely based on Cyntoia and her life, it is also largely based on what it is God can do for you. It is a true testament of how God can turn your mess into a message. He can turn your pain into your purpose. He can pick you up from where you are and turn your whole life around. It is a testament that God will wait on you until you're ready to come to him. He patient. The good book say you may not bow now, but you're going to bow later, because we all going to bow. And it's a testament to that. She spent a whole bunch of her life hating him, not believing in him, forsaking him, because if God was real, he wouldn't do this to me. This book is equally about how great God is, how forgiving God is, how loving God is, how merciful God is, how God can take you from down here and bring you up here. This book is a testament to God's work through humans, because he placed so many people in Cyntoia's life to help her get to where she is, to help her get to freedom. Her husband, Jamie, being one of those. He helped renew her faith in God and got her faith back and helped her to become faithfully fit, as I like to call it. This book is beautiful in the way that we can get second chances here on earth and live out our purpose in the way that God can give us second chances too. If you know somebody, or think you know somebody who is struggling with their identity, or maybe sexual interactions or sex trafficking, please look up the Glitter Project at jfamfoundation.org and get you some information and some resources. Learn a little bit more about it, because we have to stop this where it starts, so that no more of our little girls end up like Cyntoia Brown-Long. Cyntoia, if you see this, we love you. Thank you. Once again, I want to thank you all for your time, for listening to me. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. You can also find me on Facebook at The Pretty Nerd, and on Instagram at @theprettynerd_, where I also share my book reviews in written form. Stay tuned. We have more coming. Thanks.